Episode 5. The Weight of a Fist. The senior block corridor was usually a place of noise, shouting students, slamming lockers, and teachers yelling for order. But right now, the silence was suffocating. It was a heavy, physical weight that pressed against the eardrums. It was the kind of silence that always preceded violence. Kai stood 3 feet from Uwem, his chest heaving with a mix of amusement and disbelief. The faint red aura around his fists pulsed rhythmically, a visual manifestation of his iron fist ability. It cast a sinister glow on the white tiles of the hallway. Around them, a crowd of students had formed a tight, suffocating circle. Faces peered over shoulders. Phones were raised to record. They were waiting for the blood. They were waiting for the zero to be crushed.
You will move me? Did you hear that, Cyrus? The trash thinks he's a hero.
Cyrus snickered from behind, though he looked a little uncertain. He shifted on his feet. There was something different about Uwem's posture today. He wasn't slouching. He wasn't shaking. He stood perfectly still, like a statue.
Look at him. He's leaving his chest wide open. He's balancing all his weight on his right foot. He thinks I'm going to cower, so he isn't even bothering to guard. Before, I would have just seen a bully. Now, I see a target.
System analysis. Target: Kai, human, awakened. Strength estimate: 3, base, +2, ability active, equals 5. Agility: 2. Threat: low.
His total strength is 5, even with his ability active. My base strength is 6. He thinks he's a god in this school, but to the system, he's barely a threat.
Last chance, Bassey. Kneel down. Apologize for breathing my air. And maybe I won't break your jaw again. Maybe I'll just break an arm. Uwem looked Kai dead in the eye. The fear that used to live in his stomach was gone, replaced by a cold, hard resolve.
No.
The word hung in the air like a gunshot. The crowd gasped. Kai snapped. His face twisted into ugly rage.
Scream!
Kai pulled his right arm back and threw a haymaker aimed straight at Uwem's temple. It was a sloppy punch, fueled by anger and the assumption that his opponent wouldn't fight back. The red energy on his fist sizzled, hot enough to singe hair. Some girls in the crowd covered their eyes. They didn't want to see Uwem's head crack against the lockers. But Uwem didn't close his eyes. Trait, adrenaline response flickered in his mind. Time seemed to slow down. He saw the fist coming. It looked slow, telegraphed. Uwem raised his left hand. He didn't dodge. He didn't block. He caught it. The sound was loud, like a heavy textbook being slammed onto a table. Kai's glowing red fist stopped dead in Uwem's open palm. The force of the impact ruffled Uwem's hair, blowing it back, but his feet didn't move. Not an inch. He was rooted to the ground like an old tree. The red aura around Kai's hand flickered and died out against Uwem's crushing grip.
What?
Kai's eyes bulged. He tried to pull his hand back. He couldn't. Uwem's fingers were clamped around his fist like a steel vice.
Is that all?
It's heavy. I can feel the impact in my shoulder. But it didn't hurt. It feels manageable. Is this what it feels like to be strong? Is this how Kai has felt his whole life?
Let go! Let go of me!
Kai screamed, panic setting in for the first time in his life. He swung with the other hand, a desperate flail. Uwem didn't bother catching this one. He stepped inside Kai's guard. He drove his own fist into Kai's solar plexus. He didn't use full force. He held back. He just wanted to push him away. It felt like hitting a wet sandbag. Kai's eyes rolled back in his head. The air left his lungs in a strangled whoosh. His feet actually left the ground for a split second before he folded in half and collapsed to the tiled floor, gagging and clutching his stomach. The hallway went from silent to dead. Cyrus took a step back, his face pale as a ghost.
Kai! Get up, Kai!
Uwem stood over the gasping bully. He looked at his own hand. There was no red aura, no magic, just raw bone and muscle. Critical hit. Opponent incapacitated. XP gained 20.
I told you to move!
He looked at the crowd. The students who had laughed at him yesterday were now staring at him with fear. Some stepped back to clear a path, pressing themselves against the lockers. Uwem felt a rush of euphoria. It was intoxicating. The power, the respect, the fear. It was addictive. Warning: emotional state unstable. Advice: do not lose control. Before Uwem could take another step, a booming voice echoed from the end of the hall.
What is going on here?
The crowd parted instantly like the Red Sea. Vice Principal Okon marched down the corridor. He was a short, stout man, but his presence was terrifying. He wasn't just a teacher. Rumor had it he was a retired military mage, though no one knew his exact level. He looked at Kai, wheezing on the floor in a pool of drool. He looked at the terrified Cyrus, and then he looked at Uwem. His eyes narrowed behind his thick spectacles.
Bassey, you did this.
Self-defense, sir. He attacked me. Okon walked up to Uwem. He didn't look at the boy's face. He looked at his hands. He looked at his stance. He sniffed the air.
Kai is a Tier 1 awakened. You are unawakened, correct? Or have you been lying on your registration forms?
Uwem hesitated.
I had a late bloom, sir. Yesterday.
Okon stared at him for a long, uncomfortable moment. It felt like the man was trying to see through his skin.
A late bloom into a strength type ability. Interesting.
Okon hummed. He glanced at Kai, who was finally starting to groan and sit up. Cyrus, take him to the nurse. And Bassey, come to my office after school. We need to register your new status.
Yes, sir.
Okon turned to leave, but he paused. He sniffed the air near Uwem again. He frowned deeply.
Boy, why do you smell like grave soil?
Uwem froze. His heart stopped. System alert. Mark of the thief detected. Observer has high perception. Caution advised.
I fell in a ditch on the way to school. Mud.
Okon didn't reply. He just stared for one more second, then walked away, his heavy boots clicking on the tiles. Lunch break, the school rooftop. The wind was blowing hard, carrying the scent of incoming rain. Uwem sat on the edge of the roof, his legs dangling over the side. It was the only place he could get some peace. He pulled up the system interface. Quest completed. The school hierarchy. Objective met. Opponent defeated. Calculating reward. Reward unlocked. Choice available. 1. Stat point +1. 2. Skill book. Basic combat steps. Passive.
A stat point is good, but I fought like a brawler today. I just punched. If Kai had known how to actually fight, he might have dodged me. I have strength, but I have no skill. I choose the skill book.
You have selected basic combat steps. Downloading knowledge. A sharp headache spiked in his temples. Images flashed in his mind. Footwork patterns, how to shift weight, how to guard his chin, how to breathe during a strike. It wasn't mastery, it was just the basics. But suddenly, Uwem felt like he knew how to stand properly. Punishment revealed. Note: you succeeded, no punishment applied. System alert. Mark of the thief, 18 hours remaining. Warning: high concentration of spiritual energy detected nearby.
Here? At school?
He stood up and looked over the edge of the roof, down to the school gates. A black van had just pulled up. It wasn't a police van.
It was unmarked, sleek, and terrifying. 3 men stepped out. They wore gray tactical vests over native attire. They carried strange, elongated scanners made of wood and metal. One of them pointed a scanner toward the school building, specifically toward the roof. Who are they? Are they looking for me? Because of the shrine? Or because of the system? The man with the scanner looked up. He wore dark sunglasses, but Uwem felt the gaze. It was piercing. Then a new notification popped up, one that made Uwem's blood run cold. New quest chain, The Awakening World, difficulty, A rank. Introduction. Your rapid growth has sent ripples through the local energy grid. The Spirit Hunters Guild has been dispatched to investigate an anomaly. Objective: do not be identified as the source of the anomaly. Hint: your system hides your stats, but it cannot hide the smell of the void. Void? What void? I thought I had an African system. Why does it say void? System error. Data corruption detected. Ignoring. Uwem stepped back from the ledge. He wasn't just fighting bullies anymore. The real world, the dangerous world of hunters and monsters, was knocking at the front gate, and they had scanners.